We now welcome into the call the head coach of the William Mary Tribe, Tony Shaver. Good morning, Coach Shaver.
Good morning. Hope everybody's well.
Doing well. A one-on-one week for you guys, a win on your senior day over Georgia State, and then a tough loss at Old Dominion to finish up the season. Talk about those two games a little bit.
Well, good conference win here at home against Georgia State. I thought for, really about 39 and a half minutes we played pretty good basketball. We really almost gave it away at the end. I mean, they made some plays, and all of a sudden it was down to 2 points. But, a good conference win. It was 2 in a row for us at that point in time, and had a lot of guys contributing right now for our team. And, at one point I think we were a one-man show with Quinn McDowell a little bit, but we've got a lot of guys. And that game was a great example of that. We talked about it afterwards, but, Quinn had one shot in the first 20 minutes of that game. They really tried to keep the ball out of his hands, and we were up 11 at halftime. That wouldn't have happened earlier in the season for us. And then, played at Old Dominion on Saturday. Clearly one of the top teams in our league, and certainly one of the most physical teams in our league, and they just beat us up physically. We played, again, I thought we played extremely well for 30, 32 minutes of that ball game, and we'd cut it to 3, maybe 4-point lead, and then they just physically wore us out. I think we just couldn't keep it up for 40 minutes, and they shot the ball well against us and dominated the backboards like they tend to do, and they're playing as well as anybody in the league right now.
Got a couple questions for you in queue. The first from Melinda Waldrop at the Daily Press. Go ahead, Melinda.
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
The CAA tournament is a place, not just last year, but in recent years, where your guys have found some success. Do you think, given how you can shoot when you get going and the close games you had against some of the contenders, but also considering the question marks that you still have with some of the young guys and the defensive things you were discussing on Saturday, what do you realistically expect can happen this weekend?
Well, we want to win that first game. I mean, that's our only goal right now, and I think anybody entering that tournament with any other ambition is making a mistake. I've always thought whether you're the first seed or the 12th seed, winning the first game of the tournament is the most difficult thing you'll face, and I really believe that. So we've got our hands full with James Madison. I mean, I think they're offensively one of the most talented teams in the league. I've said that all year long, and it's interesting. I think this will be the 9th time we played them in the last 3 years. I believe we met them each of the first rounds in the last 2 years. This will make 3 years in a row, I believe. So we've got our hands full right there.
Right. We've talked about the close losses before, which I think you definitely lead the league in. And you said, and your players have said, it's made you a stronger team. How are you able to do that instead of just getting discouraged or, oh, here we go again, and just the accumulated disappointment?
Well, I think we've had to work at it. I mean, we really had to work at staying, positive and upbeat, and we really had to work at the areas we've improved as a basketball team and not dwell on the, any negatives that might be out there. And again, I think it's a lot to do with the quality of our players. I mean, they're good kids, and we have made great strides. And I really think as a coach, that's one of the most important things you look for in a season is, has your team gotten better? And I think we have. And I think last 3 or 4 weeks we've been good. We don't have as many wins as we'd like to show for it, but we've been a pretty good basketball team.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next question for you, Tony, from Eric Lennox at the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Good morning. Hope you're well.
You kind of touched on this in what you were saying at first. Can you talk more about the young guys like Britt and Boatner and how far they've come and maybe how much they can learn in the CAA tournament?
Well, it'll be a new experience for them. There's no question about that. I mean, the whole year is new for them, but that first tournament atmosphere in the Coliseum, we'll talk about that some with them and try to prepare them. But I think simply the best preparation is them having to face the competition they have every night in the CAA. I mean, they're not going to see anything new there. They'll see a new tournament atmosphere, but I think the success they've had, in the league play, has to give them confidence going into this environment. the one thing I'll caution them on, as we do all of our players, is not try to do too much. I think that's something a lot of young guys, get into a tournament atmosphere, a little different crowd, a little different arena, maybe more on the line, and they try to do things they're not capable of. And I think at tournament time, doing what you do well is very important. So I think our young guys will handle it, but I think our success will be dictated by our upperclassmen. We need Marcus Kitts to have a good day on Friday. We need our juniors and Quinn McDowell and Ken Brown and sophomores, Matt Rum and Kyle Gary got to play well for us, and so I think that's going to be more important really than maybe what our younger guys do.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Next question for you, Tony, from Michael Phillips at the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Good morning, Michael.
Hey, good morning. I was going to ask you about Quinn McDowell and just everything he's been through, fighting through the injury and still managing to play regularly for you guys.
Well, I've said it many times about Quinn. He's a great kid. He's a tough kid. And I think, behind that little Opie look in his face there, he's tough, man. He really is. And I think we've done a pretty good job in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks in, limiting his practice time, trying to keep him fresh, trying to keep his knee feeling as good as possible. And But you still got to get repetition in. Nobody's good enough they can just walk out and play without practice. And so we've been pretty successful at that, and we've tried to ask Quinn to be very honest with us about the feeling of the knee, and it's been pretty good. I thought he took a pretty big pounding Saturday night, which worried me a little bit. Trying to guard Hassel and Carter and some of their big kids and stuff was not a good matchup, but we'll get a little bit of rest this week, and I'm sure he'll be ready to go.
Is that something that maybe concerns you, that if there were back-to-back games that could be a concern for him?
Absolutely. No question. So we've got to do a really good job this week resting it, but keeping him ready to play as well. But, back-to-back games will be an issue for him.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next question for you, Tony, from Mark Seelig at the Daily News Record. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Rob. How are you doing, Tony?
Fine, Mark. Thanks.
First of all, on Quinn, what exactly happened to his knee, and when was it?
Well, he's had it for 3 or 4 weeks at least, probably longer than that. But it's just I can't even describe it. Probably something I would not try to with our medical people do that. But he's had a lot of pain in his knee for the last month or so of the season, and we've just had to rest him a great deal. And but he's learned to play with it, and he'll play with it Friday just fine. I don't have any doubts about that.
Which knee is it?
Good question. I'm not even sure. You got a brace on it, so we'll find out. I'll find out at practice, but I couldn't even tell you right now.
You talked about playing James Madison so often, I think 9 times in the last 3 years, in each of the last 3 tournaments. What kind of insight do you have into that team? Given how much they've changed over the years, do the 9 times really help?
Well, I feel like we know them pretty well, and I'm sure they feel like they know us pretty well. The one thing you absolutely can't do against them is turn the ball over. Give them the fast break opportunities, and I think the thing that makes them really stand out in our league or across the country is, Bowles is so good inside. He's a guy that can get 30 or 35 on any given night. And so you have to defend that differently. You can't always just play people straight up like that. And then they got certainly plenty of capable shooters around him. So they're a tough matchup. And it's just interesting kind of how we've gotten paired with them each of the last 3 years, I guess. So they're probably a little tired of seeing us, and we're probably a little tired of seeing them too. I don't know.
And then just one last thing. In your 2 games against them, your offense is pretty good compared to the rest of your season. What do you look at? What did you do specifically in those 2 games that allowed you to run some crisp offense?
Well, we haven't done anything different. We really hadn't, and if we had, I probably wouldn't tell you anyway, just so they don't know. But no, we've been pretty basic. Just doing our normal things, and we have scored the ball a little bit better than some games, but we scored the ball pretty well all year long, though, in the last, since Christmas especially. But they're a physical, tough team, and We honestly haven't done anything unusual or different against them. Just tried to run our basic offense against them.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Next question for you, Tony, from Brian Mull at the Wilmington Star-News. Go ahead, Brian.
Tony, somebody touched on this earlier, but I just wanted to talk more about the development of your two freshmen in the backcourt and how you've approached them. You've had some veterans back there for a while, and how you had to change your approach maybe this season.
Well, I certainly had to be more patient with them, and it's certainly been more of a teaching process this year than it was a year ago with two senior guards, in Schneider and McCurdy. But probably the only thing we've done, I'm not sure it's unusual, but at one point I've talked to each one of those guys, and I've been pretty hard on them at times, and pretty demanding and expecting a certain level of play out of them, and I feel like I call their name out a lot in practice because there's a lot to correct and a lot to improve on. But I ask them, do you want me to treat you like a freshman, or do you want me to treat you like a really good player that we expect a lot out of? So they've taken everything we've thrown at them and just gotten better. And I think, holy cow, you know what? We're going to see a lot of pressure on Friday night, in my opinion. I think they're going to really press us and trap us, and they're going to be tested. They're going to be tested in a big way Friday night. But Old Dominion doesn't pressure you as much, but obviously a great team. But I guess they had a combined 35 points and 5 assists and 1 turnover in that basketball game down there. So, but it'll be very different Friday night because they're going to press us. They did last time we played them, and I know they feel like we're susceptible to the pressure, and so how they handle it will be really important to our success that night.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tony, before I let you go, talk about when you first took over, the mentality was that William & Mary hadn't had a lot of success in the CAA tournament. Now you've been to 2 championship games in the last 3 years. Just talk about how the change in mentality for your program coming into this.
Well, that's been a huge change in our program, and I have said this before, but when I first took the job at William & Mary, the thing I heard over and over and over again, I honestly was very tired of hearing, is that William & Mary can't win in the tournament. And I think it was my second year, and ironically, as it would be, it was James Madison, but we beat James Madison in the first round, and I'm not sure I've ever been as excited about a win, as a coach, and got that monkey off our back a little bit. But we have been a good tournament team, and we've played well over there, and I think our guys have a whole different feeling about going over there, and it's all very positive, and we really look forward to getting over and see what we can do.
All right, Tony, thanks for your time today, as always, and all season long, and we'll see you later this week.
Thank you.
All right.